Well, we can all pretend to be John Lennon for just a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome to London town. This is Abbey Road, and just behind me there, the Abbey Road Studios, named after the Beatles' final album, of course, called Abbey Road. Amazing to think that in the 60s, the Beatles were changing popular culture, bringing so much colour to the country, indeed to the world. And yet down the road, cricket was still being played. It was shown on television in black and white, and the traditionalists still ruled just about everything in the world game. Lord's Cricket Ground is the most famous venue of all. It's only, well, just a few hundred yards away. And those famous Grace Gates await us.
This is Lord's, deeply rooted in tradition and in the ritual tradition brings.
Well, I said it was a short walk from Abbey Road, and it's even shorter than I remember. And these are the Grace Gates.
W.G. Grace, the Gloucestershire country doctor who turned a rustic sport into the science of modern cricket.
These gardens get really full. The Harris Garden, you have to book a table for lunch. Then you have the Middlesex shop here, because don't forget, Middlesex play at Lord's. They don't own Lord's, wholly owned by MCC, but Middlesex play here. That's the members' shop. In fact, look at those hats, those famous Panamas.
The elegant and practical Panama.
And the blazer, the MCC blazer, look at that little beauty. The colours are famous all around the world. Here we are. Well, this is just one of my favourite places in the world. And then as we turn left round here, we get into the museum, and I'd like to pick up the story in there.
The pictures telling the story on every face.
Let's begin in the museum here with a moment of serious reflection to the memory of cricketers of all lands who gave their lives in the cause of freedom, 1914, 1918, 39, 45, the two wars. So many cricketers were lost, and one forgets that, and it took time for cricket to get going after the war. The great Australian all-rounder Keith Miller was one who played in what they called the victory tests straight after the war. And someone said, what about the pressure of international cricket, Keith? And he said, pressure? I'll tell you what pressure is. Pressure is a Messerschmitt up your backside, because he was a fighter pilot. Miller, of course, fought for the Ashes. And the most famous thing in cricket in terms of its history is the Ashes. The first test match played for the Ashes was in 1877. And very soon after that, they were playing for this little urn.
England have regained the Ashes.
And let's keep the W.G. Grace theme going. A little tribute to him here. 870 first-class matches with 54,211 runs. 2,809 wickets. Maybe they were his boots. Look how different the gear was. Look how different the pads were. Look at this stuff. Imagine a 100-mile-an-hour ball clattering into those pads. Amazing, isn't it, how the game's changed? And then you get to the modern age and you have coloured pads for night cricket and the great Sachin Tendulkar.
And now just listen to the applause as Lord's, this famous old ground, rises to Sachin Tendulkar.
One of the great things during my time in the game has been the emergence of women's cricket, not just as a thing of substance, but of national importance. And in fact, the whole of this first floor of the museum has been dedicated to a display of women's cricket. It's wonderful, particularly for young girls, to have this inspiration.
Australia complete a magnificent victory.
Come with me, because on match day, that's party time. Coronation Garden. I cannot tell you how many people cram into that with their picnics. Some people will leave half an hour before the lunch break to set up, start opening the champagne, pulling the corks on the wine, setting out the picnics on their rugs, and they'll still be there at the tea break and beyond. And more often than not, my brother's amongst them. This is an amazing display, plaques that members could invest in. It began, actually, with us. I was on the panel that chose the 100 greatest moments at Lord's, and they're the cream-coloured ones in the middle. So, you know, what might interest the modern-day lover of the game, James Anderson's 500th Test match wicket was taken here.
Bowled in! It's an elite club, and Anderson's just joined it.
Okay, so this is the Holy Grail. Access in here is privileged. Love the staff, Liz and Mike here, and regulars, I know them very well. And as I wander up the stairs, I think really of all the great players that have been here and all the great people, not just players, people that have come into this pavilion at various times over 200 years. And then I stop and I just go, wow, at the greatest portrait of any sportsman I've ever seen. That is Viv Richards, or Sir Viv Richards, one of the greatest players of this or any age, a true destroyer. These are the heroes that have inspired so many generations. These are the heroes that give us the history of our game.
That's a wonderful delivery from Shane Warne.
And into the away dressing room we come. I mean, you'd come in here with a few nerves, I suspect, when you arrive for the first time, and what you'd hope for is to end up on the honours board. Let's wander out here. It's a great place to watch cricket from, and you certainly feel almost otherworldly when you do that. We could all be envious of the great players that have sat here.
For here in the long room at Lord's, criticism is restrained, praise is brief, and only sunny days and history are long.
The long room at Lord's, there is nothing like it. The atmosphere here, whether match day or not, is extraordinary. There's nobody in here today, but the place echoes with cricket. It's as if I'm stepping in the footsteps of giants. And I swing left now, through the members, through those double doors, down those steps, and onto the most famous field in cricket.
There is an aura about it, a fascinating history lesson and exclusive behind.